ultimately, I tried this myself. It's fine.
Scintillating glory.
It is
Haru, Haru.
A-okay.
Haru Haru is not coming at you for a shout out video. All right, guys, welcome back to the Chemist Confessions podcast. I'm Victoria.
And I'm Gloria.
And this is a human conversation on all the skincare science we talk about on the daily. And today, we're changing it up.
Yep.
We're not doing ingredients.
Yeah, I think it was getting to a point where we are, I think, kicking into old habits where we're doing very intensive research each episode and they're getting longer and longer again. We're like, we got that out of bad, we had to switch it up. And we are starting to get more and more product questions.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most common questions we've been getting is, so what are toners for, and do I really need one? And we figured, you know what, it's time to do a product-based episode.
Yeah. So today, we're going to try to put some order to the toner landscape for you guys.
It's a mess.
There's a lot of viral toners out there, mainly in the K-beauty space. So we're going to try to go through a few of the top products, but then also see if we can provide some chemist, insider industry logic to it, and see if that's helpful for you guys. And ultimately, what would we do in this realm?
Yep. But before we get into all of that, the segment is back, which is, what are we drinking today, Victoria?
Today we are drinking the Halia beer from Ogopogo Brewery. If any of you guys are in the LA area and visit the San Gabriel region, where it has the mecca of amazing Asian food, there's a brewery down there that you should check out. I had to share this with Gloria because it's ube coconut flavor and it is delicious.
It's so good. It's not too sweet. But it's very fragrant and delicious.
Ew.
Cheers.
All right.
All right. So we'll get right into it. To start, it's actually a very difficult question to answer, which is, what is a toner and what does it do?
It's an existential question,
It really
honestly.
is.
What is a toner? What does it want to be?
Yeah.
What does it do?
Yeah. I think as a chemist, for the longest time, I don't want to talk about it because to me, it's like one of those categories. It's like, it has no meaning because it's evolved into so many random things.
Yeah. So ultimately, if we want to get very scientific and nerdy about it, it's very thin, watery stuff. All right. So if you think about what that looks like, your facial mist, those would be also you can consider a toner as well. So, but when we look at what's been launched and what's out there, ultimately, we would say originally it started as an astringent for oily skin types, and it had a lot of alcohol in it.
Yes.
Sometimes you would even find clays in there, so that can be oil absorbent.
Yeah. So I think that was the original intent of toners, is that that extra step to really clean skin of oil, especially for those with oily skin. And it kind of evolved from there. And I guess a secondary benefit from using alcohol-based toner is they started venturing into more cleansing toners, and the ball just kept rolling and just got wilder and wilder from there.
Yeah. So ultimately, how we would break this down is that there are 4 categories that make sense to us. One is the single ingredient marketed toner. So these could be typical ones that we will talk about later, is like the Anua Heartleaf toner. You've got your 100% centella toners. These are championing one single marketed ingredient. Sometimes they're very exotic.
Yep.
You also find like AHA toners can be in this realm. So high in glycolic acid toners and whatnot. The second one, and you'll find these blend together, is your active blends.
Yes.
So this is generally a hodgepodge of actives in a very thin fluid.
Yeah. So this is where you'll see a whole category of claims that makes you very confused. You're like, wait, aren't those what serum's for? You'll hear things like brightening toner, a soothing toner, a hydrating toner, anti-aging toner.
Yeah.
And you're still sitting here like, wait, hold on. Why do I need a serum and a toner again? And I think as a quick aside, you'll see as we go through these episodes, I mean, some of you at this point of the podcast may pop on and say, wait, I heard that toners are for this reason, like pH balancing, or it's for cleansing, or it's for this, or it's for that. And you'll see as we go through these products that all the products are different. They're so different that toners as a category, it's hard for us as chemists to say, this is what toners are for. And I think this category of blends of ingredients is the worst offender of that.
I think you also feel our pain as well because, yeah, like sometimes, the science and formulation aspect of it, you can see it clash with or generally gets muddled when you start trying to put a marketing twist to it. So the third category that's been very popular is Milky toners. A lot of essences you'll find fall into this category as well. And then the final one, which is very bizarre, is general cleansing waters. So you can find toners with a little bit of surfactant. The micellar waters will sometimes fall in here. And these can also blend into the cleanser side. So it's, a little funky.
Yeah, so stay with us. It's a little confusing. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll just go through the products and decode them and have you share our pain as to why this category is so hard to talk about in a blanket statement.
But hopefully you'll find a toner you'll actually appreciate. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break. Speaking of water stuff, have you heard of our Aquafix Hydrating Water Gel? In the world of toners, while we're on the subject, think of this as more of your gelified toner of hydrating ingredients.
Instead of pummeling this formula with just one superstar ingredient, we decided to create a blend that is, in our humble chemist opinion, a suite of the best-in-class hydrators. We have small molecule champion glycerin, NMF representative sodium PCA, soothing panthenol, and of course hyaluronic acid to provide well-rounded hydration all day long.
And if you are curious to try Aquafix, please don't forget to use code CCPodcast2024 for 15% off your first order. And we're back.
Yes.
So we're going to get into it. We're going to start off with the general water realm. So this is going to involve your single ingredient champions as well as your blends.
Yep.
I think the first one we have to talk about is definitely a TikTok trending one, and that's the Anua 77% Heart Leaf Toner. It's predominantly one ingredient. This is the Hotuina Cordata extract.
Wow.
Just spit that out. I don't think that's even remote.
Jazz hands.
So this extract, they actually provide the percentage, comes at 77%. But then you see that it actually comes with things like purified water, 1,2-hexane glycerin, betaine, panthenol. You've got sugarcane extract, and a couple other ones in there, as well as Centella asiatica extract. Despite the fact that it's predominantly heart leaf extract, you still get a bunch of others. So something to keep in mind. So this is, I would say, a pretty good example of this realm.
I would actually say that, so first of all, heart leaf extract has been, like Victoria mentioned, very trendy. We've actually gotten a few questions about this extract. We will have our plant stuff episode again coming up where we will spend more time on the credentials behind heart leaf extract. But without talking about it, I actually kind of like this category as toners because Victoria and I always gripe about extracts as a category because a lot of times we don't know the activity level, the quality of extract products are using based on just ingredient names. But toners that stress, especially K-beauty toners that stress this high level of extract, is actually a great way to make sure that, hey, if you're curious about ingredient, this is enough for you to figure out if it's right for you.
Yeah.
And
at a relatively low cost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's pretty vanilla. This is a great example of that. I think Skin 104 has a Centella toner that's mostly the leaf extract. So those are, I think this is actually, I would say, in the toner category, which by the end of the episode, I feel like you guys will feel like these girls just don't like toners.
That's not true. That's not true. It's just in the grand scheme of things. But, I think there's a place.
Yeah, exactly. I would say this is a great way to test out these extracts.
And explore,
yes.
For sure.
I would say that if we dial back to like things that toners are supposed to do for you, this case, it wouldn't be astringent per se. It wouldn't really be cleansing anything because it's just more active space. I would say it's whatever the extract is touting, which is usually some sort of soothing
or hydrating realm.
Exactly.
More often than not, a lot of these extracts are like, we can tell you that by default, those are probably the first two realms that get explored. I think it's just generally they can hit those marks, but that's something you can expect, I think, from most of these toners we're going to go through.
Yep.
So another one we should talk about that's also trendy is the Round Lab 1025 dough toner. And we would say, yeah.
Okay.
And it's described as a toner that exfoliates dead skin cells and leaves skin replenished with long-lasting moisture. But I shall read the IL for Gloria and see what she thinks. This toner starts with purified water, butylene glycol, glycerin, pentylene glycol, propane diol, Chondrus crispus extract, sugarcane extract, seawater.
Interesting.
1,2-hexanediol protease, betaine, panthenol, ethyl hexaglycerin, allantoin, xanthan, disodium EDTA, which is actually not that long of an IL at all.
It is a pretty simple formula. I find the exfoliating claim to be a little bit aggressive.
Yeah.
I will say this is super common. I would say this type of formula is probably the most type you'll see in the toner landscape, which is a lot of water and probably some hydration from the humectants like butylene glycol and glycerin. How they're able to make this exfoliating claim is from the sugarcane extract, which is, they say, and I quote, rich in glycolic acid. And I'm just gonna put it out there and say, I hate rich in claims, because at the end of the day, glycolic acid is something that you're gonna need a solid percentage of, like 4 or 5. I don't even think there is 4 or 5% of the sugarcane extract in here. So I would be color me shocked if there is more than like 0.5% glycolic acid in this whole blend. So again, this is where I guess part of the reason why we finally sucked it up and did this episode is to showcase that, hey, at the end of the day, when you are shopping for toners, it does help to do the ingredient list decode a little bit to set up expectations.
Yes.
I will say there's nothing wrong with this. It's like a very basic, slightly hydrating toner if you want to try it. But if, let's say, you're already using the ordinary 7% glycolic acid, if you switch to this and expecting it to have the same exfoliating power, you'll probably be pretty disappointed.
I had a weird tinfoil hat theory about all this.
Go on.
Anytime this type of IL claims exfoliating, I'm just feel like they're expecting you to use a cotton pad, and that's the exfoliator.
Oh, the physical.
That's the true rubbing. Exfoliator that's happening here.
Oh, I like that theory. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So yeah, I think to me this is just a classic toner.
Yeah, me too. And I will say this is the type of toners that at least make me feel very unexcited about and feel like it's not a super necessary part of your skincare routine, because ultimately this will be, say, let's say compared to a hydrating serum, like a B5 or Aquafix, the amount of hydrators in here will definitely be lower than that. So what does it bring to the table? I am not 100% sure.
Yeah, and in long story short, basically we would say like a Nua heart leaf is something that sounds more intriguing to try than a general toner like this.
Yes.
Moving on. We're going to talk about the I'm From Rice toner. It looks like a milky toner, but it really isn't. I believe that's just, what's coming from the rice extract itself. I'll read a few things from a few ingredients from the IL. So rice extract is the first. Then you got methylpropanediol, triethylhexanoin, hydrogenated poly. That's a very weird way of writing. Sorry, hydrogenated poly C614 olefin. You got niacinamide, pentylene glycol, common purslane extract, rice bran extract, Japanese elm bark extract, bunch of other extracts. And at the very end, you're gonna see polyglycerol 10 myristate, which is a solvent, butylene glycol, adenosine cellulose, blah 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 blah. So
this to me is kind of similar when you're shopping for it. This to me will fall in the same consideration as like the heart leaf extract type toners, because you have, instead of water being the top ingredient, you have some sort of extract as the number one spot. So you know that the water stuff is mainly from the extract, which rice, you can refer back to our rice episode on how we feel about that. But if you're curious,
better to try.
Not a bad product to try.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting and I think happens a lot with these marketed extracts is, to be honest, sometimes the data is not there. So what happens is they pad the ingredient list with other actives. So
niacinamide.
Exactly. So classic is niacinamide. So in that sense, you do get a guarantee that it'll do something.
So something to note here is that the niacinamide isn't explicitly called out by marketing lingo. Again, this is why this category, we highly recommend doing quick IL decode, because it's products like this that might put you in the risk of over niacinamiding your routine because you just didn't know that it's there to begin with. Yeah. It's probably in there a pretty vanilla level, but it adds up. Something else to note here, and again explains why we feel the way we do about this category, is one of the things that a lot of people think toners are for is to rebalance skin pH. They will talk about how, because when you wash your skin, often cleansers are at really high pH, so you need to bring it back down to a pH of 5 to 5.5, and this is what toners do. I'm so happy that this brand actually listed their pH. It's a pH of 6.9.
On the higher end.
It's pretty high. I'm not saying pH, again, is just one indicator of whether or not it's good for your skin.
Yeah.
But again, this is why if you think that this thing is supposed to acidify your skin pH or help it bring it down to 5.5. This is not it.
I always find that concept so interesting because I feel like it's what most people don't know is most products are formulated to be at your skin pH level.
Yep.
I guarantee you we're not like, we must make it as basic as possible. Like we're not, no chemist is trying to do that. But I always find that strange that people feel like it's like, oh, as low as possible.
Yeah, and nowadays, because soap cleansers have really fallen out of favor, most cleansers you find on the market, like our blank slate and most gentle cleansers, they will have a milder pH of 6 and under to begin with, so it's less of an issue all around.
Even the facial bars are detergent bars; they're not actually soap bars. So just something to think about when people come at you with the pH aspect.
They sure came at us with the pH board. Anyway,
moving on. Let's talk about another rice toner.
Cool. So this one is the Haru Haru Black Rice Toner, and I'll just go through the ingredient list quickly. Water, betaine, glycerin, propane diol, biclin root extract, rice extract at 2000 ppm. Oh wow.
That's a lot. That just sounds foul.
Phyllostachys, it looks like pubescent shoot extract. Also at 2000 ppm. ppm, xanthan gum, cellulose gum, yada yada yada, and hyaluronic acid 600 ppm. Refer back to a bunch of videos about the ppm discussion. But to me, this again falls into the same category as a round lab toner, where it has some hydrators up top like the betaine and glycerin and the claimed extracts that's supposed to give you that benefit. Ultimately, I tried this myself. It's fine.
Scintillating glory.
It is A-okay.
Haru Haru is not coming at you for a shout out video.
Well, for me, it's like definitely like pleasant. It's mildly hydrating. Your skin feels good afterwards. It's very vanilla. But would I skip my hydrating serum after? No. But if I skip,
it's not replacing anything.
No. But if I skip the toner and just use a hydrating serum, am I missing this toner? I also don't feel that way about it. So anyway, to me, I feel like this is, again, like the water soft extract. It's not going to be astringent. It's not going to be cleansing. It's just going to be lightly hydrating. It could be nice for those who have oily skin. Serums with high levels of hydrators can be a little sticky. So this has a pretty pleasant texture because it's primarily water. So if you're looking for light hydration, I would say this type of toner might work for you.
And finally, we should talk about the Aqua pH balancing toner. We'll just quickly go through the IL as well. And this one is slightly funky. So you've got water, licorice root extract, PEG 6 caprylic caproglyceride, PEG 7 glycerol cocoate, dipropylene glycol, 1,2-hexane diol, poloxamer 184, phenoxy. So that should be a good indicator of where everything else lies. You've got glycerin, butylene glycol, blah, 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 a bunch of extracts and so on.
So, I will say this.
What is this?
This is a very, very popular toner. Obviously, it's claimed to balance pH. There's some soothing claims, mostly based on the licorice root water aspect of it. I also tried this one, and to me, it's like, it's fine. It's a lighter texture than the Haru Haru Black Rice Toner. I notice myself, if I'm postpartum, my skin is like a little bit more sensitive than usual. It definitely gets a little red after using it. Not offensively so, but if you're more sensitive than me, it might be a thing. So if you look at the list, the PEG 6 glyceride and the PEG 7, they can be considered to be solvents and also mildly cleansing ingredients, because we actually have PEG 7 glycerol cocoate in our blank slate cleanser to enhance the cleansability. So it's one of those things like, haha, sneaky cleansing, like you think it's a water stuff, pH balancing toner, but it's actually cleansing water.
What does it claim to do?
It claims to be soothing.
So it doesn't claim to be cleansing at all?
No, it doesn't. Yeah, but I feel like, again, this is where people have a lot of thoughts on what toners are supposed to do. And there is a school of thought that toner, when you wipe off with the toner, it helps remove any excess grime or whatever that your cleanser didn't thoroughly remove. This could be used for that purpose, but none of the other ones we just went through will be used for that. So to me, I'm like, and again, this whole section just summarizes, toners are hard to talk about because there isn't a single defining trait to summarize the category.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is like, it's very clear that just from these 6, you would look at it and you would feel like they generally are in the same realm. but if you look at the aisle, they can be wildly different.
Yeah.
And for me, the takeaway here is, one, what do we like? We like actually extract forward toners.
Yeah.
So if you see that extract in the first position, that's something probably we'd feel like is worth trying.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is you can find very surprising things in the aisle. So for example, like the licorice root extract, I think is actually, it can provide brightening properties, which actually is quite a unique value prop in this realm when most of it's soothing and hydrating. So in that sense, it might actually skew you to choose this one for your hyperpigmentation routine. But then you find surfactants, right? So, I think it's just something to think about when you guys are browsing. I think there's just one can only have so many toners in their life. And hopefully that's just a few tips there for you guys in terms of selecting the right one.
Yeah. So you think toners are a very vanilla, beginner-friendly category? It's actually wildly complicated.
It's weird. It's complicated, but the product itself is not necessarily requires an expert. Like you don't need to be a huge skincare junkie to,
you don't need to acclimate
integrate
your
this.
skin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So weirdly complicated for what it's providing. Yeah.
Cool. So that's enough of that. We're going to take a break.
Yeah, let's take a break. We're going to get into Milky toners and have some takeaways. But first, we have to talk about our animal fun fact. All right. So for today's and your animal fun fact trivia of the day, we're going to talk about prairie dogs.
Prairie dogs, they're adorable.
Yep. So prairie dogs are herbivorous burrowing ground squirrels. They're native to North America. They are actually quite important. They're considered a keystone species. They are actually very important in the food chain and a major food source for the local predators. They also help encourage grass development and renewal of topsoil that are rich in minerals and nutrients. So generally good species to have. What's kind of interesting is they basically create all these burrows. So they are in families. And they have quite an interesting network. And what I wanted to show Gloria is that they actually kiss each other to socialize.
Oh.
So I'm going to show this video for Gloria. It very much feels like they're going to make out.
Oh,
or they
boy.
are making out. They really get in there, and I'll show you why. So they had... So.
Oh. By the way, their eyes almost look like those beady little eyes. Oh, whoa.
Feels like there's tongue in there.
They turn their heads sideways.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Whoa.
So you'll see that they very much are intense kissers. To find family members and determine the health of their social network, they kiss. Mm-hmm. And they have one expert. I'll read his quote. He says, "It's very much like many human cultures around the world that greet by kissing each other. Some cultures do it on the cheeks, some on both. Prairie dogs go all in. They are generally, kissing, really exchanging. They're swapping spit. So it's like full on makeout, which I thought was so fascinating. They say that there's opposite gender kissing, there's same gender kissing. They even kiss enemy prairie dogs. And they say, if you are a friend, then we kiss and go about our business. If you're a competitor, for example, we belong to a different social group, we might greet kiss, and then there's an altercation. So I might chase you out of my territory. So that's the prairie dog. Now you know.
I don't know where I read this, so don't quote me on this because I didn't do the research before this episode. Mm-hmm. But I also read somewhere that prairie dogs are surprising also both socially and sexually mostly monogamous, but sometimes they cheat on each other.
I'm just going to assume all monogamous species do actually have a part that cheats.
Swans are sluts. Anyway, I remember reading about it.
Slut shaming swans.
Well, because they're all like a wedding cakes and stuff, but really they're like prairie dogs are mostly monogamous, but sometimes they cheat. And I just remember reading an article about like sometimes the prairie dog that gets cheated on will try to guard their female from like ever going out again. And just like, no, you're mine. No. It's kind of sad, but also kind of adorable.
I'm just gonna guess all animals cheat.
Yeah.
There's a cohort of them.
Yes.
Anyways, break over. Let's wrap this up.
All right. Milky toners.
Yeah, so this is a budding realm recently.
It's gotten really popular, and I feel like they keep calling it slightly different things. Mm-hmm. Some brands will just call it a milk, and you're like, "What is a milk?" I don't know why I said that.
Why German?
What is it? But then there are brands that position it as a toner.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to realize that nowadays people are like, it's got low viscosity, so I guess it's a toner.
Yeah. Essences, like, yeah, it's but overall the characteristic is it's very thin, watery still.
Yeah.
But it's milky.
Yes.
And that just means that most likely there's a little bit of oil in it.
Mhm.
They've used an emulsifier, so it's giving it that milky texture.
Yes.
We'll go through 3, and these are actually not necessarily in.
So I feel like these people must be like, oh, thank God it's only 3 in this segment. Please tell us if this is helpful, because we are trying to, we get a lot of questions about product categories, so we are trying to dissect it for you guys, but let us know if this is like too much.
And on that note, 3 toners.
3 toners.
First one is the very new, the Ordinary Saccharomyces Extra Milky Essence. I don't know what they're calling it, but long story short, the aisle is very straightforward. It's water, yeast extract, squalane, and then you've got your lauryl glucoside, myristil glucoside, blah, 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 blah. So mainly the takeaway is you've got your extracts and you've got squalane. I'm going to blitz through these aisles because ultimately I'll just give you a sense of how they are. So Bioma has their Milky toner, which is an aqua, butylene glycol, glycerine, dipropylene glycol, 1,2-hexanediol, panthenol, metafoam seed oil. So that's your oil component. Okay. And then your Fenty Fat Water Milky Toner Essence has water.
There's milk, toner, and essence.
Literally hitting every descriptor. So you can tell they also are trying to figure out what to call it. So you got water, propane, dioglycerin, squalane, glycerol, stearate, niacinamide, panthenol, coconut oil. And I literally have skimmed the top of the aisles. There's actually a lot more in all of these. I think ultimately what I would say is just by looking at the aisle, you can probably expect the Ordinary and Fenty to kind of be more on the just slightly more nourishing side, probably compared to Bioma, which is probably going to be a lot lighter.
Okay, so I think for me, first of all, I'm just going to come out as the resident dry skin representative and say, I extra don't like these for dry skin.
What is the wet blanket to your toner dreams?
Well, to me, like, I feel like a water essence, like the watery stuff, just based on segment 1, there are situations where I think they can be helpful. But this one I feel extra lukewarm about for dry skin people because they're not going to be hydrating enough, right? They're not going to have occlusives. At most, you're going to have lightweight oils like squalane is very popular. Metafoam seed oil is also a very lightweight oil. It's not going to be at very high levels. Like if you're concerned about the coconut water in the Fenty Fat Water Milky Toner Essence, well, that's a really mouthful. But if you're worried about, say, pore clogging potentials, I wouldn't even think it's in there very high at all.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, for me, it just, it doesn't add a lot to my hydration game. It's not enough to seal things in. It's not going to be hydrating enough to replace my hydrating serums. So add this for what?
Yeah, no, okay. I think, to be fair, that's very true. You're, like, it's kind of a component that's just not necessary for dry skin. It won't accomplish much. It's always going to be lesser than what you need in a dry skin routine.
Right.
And on top of that, you're never going to find a Milky Essence toner that's championing an extract in this format.
Right. It's always
going to need water first. You're going to need a blend of a bigger water aspect. So because of that, I totally agree. I don't think this is for dry skin. However, for oily skin, this can be a lot more helpful. This can be that very thin, nourishing layer before your sunscreen, especially during summer, especially if you're in very humid climates.
Just enough, just a hint of moisture.
Exactly. So I think this is who this realm is truly for. And in terms of choosing between them, I'll be honest, I think it's hard to choose. And I feel like, in this sense, I think like it actually doesn't matter too much here. You're really looking at it more for that hydration aspect. So I'd probably be gravitating towards, those that are looking at, for example, let's see, if I, the oily skin resident chemist, were to choose between the 3, I think weirdly enough, I'd like to try the Ordinary's new Milky Essence. Just because I kind of get that like higher amount of an interesting extract that I haven't used. I get a little bit of squalane, and I think that texture will be fine enough for me. Also because a lot of my routine overlaps with what's in Bioma because they've got Bioma? How do I say that?
I would say Bioma. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've got gluconolactone. I think I spotted ceramides in here.
Yeah, they have ceramides and vitamin E.
Which is going to be at such a low level. I guarantee you that that's not something I'm really considering. They've got panthenol, which I have in, honestly, Aquafix. So in that aspect, I think there's too much overlap there. And then Fenty, one thing that I think you should note is it's truly a hodgepodge. I actually don't really know what my takeaway is. Mainly also they've got niacinamide in there. So if you're someone that has no niacinamide, maybe this is the one for you. But other than that, it's a lot. So I'm just, in a very quick decision, I'm going to try the Ordinary.
Yeah, I think just based on the IL, and I've tried these textures, except for the Bioma. I've never touched an Ordinary. I've tried the Bioma and Fenty's texture. I haven't tried it long enough to comment on actual hydration level, but just skimming the IL, Fenty might give you the most hydration. But if you're looking at it as a lightweight layer, it might almost be too much because it has.
I also am very intimidated by the coconut oil. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's not something you usually find in skincare nowadays. Right. Just because there is some testing that suggests it could be a little bit more comedogenic. Right. Obviously, concentration matters, but it's something I'm like, I don't necessarily need it in my life. So for that reason. But all in all, hopefully, you know, with at least who should be using a Milky toner, that's helpful for you guys. And how to choose, I think it really depends on your routine and what's overlapping. But all in all, to sum up the toner landscape, all right?
Is there a summary? It's really, the summary is it's hard to summarize.
True. We didn't even get into the micellar waters. Right. Cleansing surfactant. I think that one, if you're curious about those, I think for us, our standpoint is if you're someone that gyms during lunch, that might be the product for you. Right. Because that's a quick swipe. It's not too intrusive. You don't necessarily need to do a full routine after. Yeah. And then you can like go on to your meeting.
I do like those for that because it's a quick refresher, but the formulas are mild enough that you don't need a full wash off. It's totally fine.
Yeah. Great for gym moments. But in terms of takeaways for us, okay, ultimately toners are not going to be the must-have category. Yeah. But we like fun skincare and this can be fun. You just need to. For us, I think we would like to dabble in a lot of those exotic ingredients. I think Beauty of Joseon has a ginseng extract toner. This is where all those ingredients we kind of talked about with data, like where it needs more data, but it could be interesting. This is that realm to trial. So that's that. The one thing we also should mention is AHA toners can be very helpful. And that might be the only I think product type that could be a true staple in our routine.
Yeah, we didn't really, because we're out of time, but we didn't go over that whole landscape. But definitely check our blog post. We'll put it in the description below. That kind of talks, wades through the different products in that category. You can choose, it's so popular, you can choose your active, you can choose really mild blends or more aggressive ones. But it's a great way to get the right level of daily upkeep that your skin needs.
Yeah. And finally, when you're shopping for a toner, probably two things you should do is one, check the ingredient list. Yeah. And two, I think being goal oriented will be helpful here. It's important to manage expectations. The claims make you feel like it does everything. But all in all, just know that
it's there to support. It's a true support category. Not a single toner is going to be a heavy lifting anything.
But it could add certain aspects that really kind of add that cherry on top to your routine. Right. And also will help you make a decision, are you looking for something that adds a little bit more hydration? Are you looking for something that's more soothing? Maybe you're dabbling in the hyperpigmentation realm. That all can help make that decision. Instead, I feel like it's like a 40 tab scenario where you're like, I'm not really sure which one to shop for.
Yeah. And definitely don't shop for this category with more traditional toner claims in mind. Like, I need a toner because I need to balance my skin pH, or I need a toner because I heard it's astringent. Those are so product dependent nowadays that, like Victoria said, if you're shopping with your skin goal, top skin concerns in mind, and filter by those choices, you will have better luck.
Yeah, for sure. And on that note, we have reached the end of toner organization.
Okay, guys, we get very needy at the end of episodes where we're like, was this helpful? This time we really need you to tell us that this was helpful. Yes. Yeah, and what category of products you like us to dabble in that. And
sunscreens will be happening because of the challenge, so don't worry about that one. But yeah, what other categories would you want us to talk about and delve into and give our chemist take and possibly be a wet blanket to your dreams?
Sorry.
But otherwise, we hope this was, again, at least enjoyable and you were able to take at least one tip away. But where can they find us, Gloria?
You can find us on our website at chemistconfessions.com. You can write to us at info@chemistconfessions.com. You can DM us on Instagram at chemist.confessions, where we poll you guys on your burning skincare questions that shape these episodes, or comment down below, because that also really helps guide us put the next episodes together. And we will see you guys next week.
Hey, bye guys!